Musical training is a more potent instrument than any other because rhythm and harmony find their way into the inward places of the soul. A good decision is based on knowledge and not on numbers. Human behavior flows from three main sources: desire, emotion, and knowledge. Knowledge without justice ought to be called cunning rather than wisdom. You should not honor men more than truth. There are three classes of men: lovers of wisdom, lovers of honor, and lovers of gain. The beginning is the most important part of the work. Justice means minding one's own business and not meddling with other men's concerns. He whom loves touches, not walks in darkness. Either we shall find what it is we are seeking, or at least we shall free ourselves from the persuasion that we know what we do not know. When the tyrant has disposed of foreign enemies by conquest or treaty, and there is nothing more to fear from them, then he is always stirring up some war or other in order that the people may require a leader. Education is teaching our children to desire the right things. Poetry is nearer to vital truth than history. The first and greatest victory is to conquer yourself. To be conquered by yourself is of all things most shameful and vile. Character is simply habit long continued. The man who finds that in the course of his life he has done a lot of wrong often wakes up at night in terror, like a child with a nightmare, and his life is full of foreboding. But the man who is conscious of no wrongdoing is filled with cheerfulness and with the comfort of old age. True friendship can only exist between equals. All things will be produced in superior quantity and quality, and with greater ease, when each man works at a single occupation in accordance with his natural gifts, and at the right moment, without meddling with anything else. For to fear death, my friends, is only to think of ourselves wise, without really being wise. For it is to think that we know what we do not know. For no one knows whether death may not be the greatest good that can happen to man. The rulers of the state are the only persons who ought to have the privilege of lying, either at home or abroad. They may be allowed to lie for the good of the state. I would teach children music, physics, and philosophy, but most importantly, music, for the patterns in music and all the arts are the keys to learning. The greatest wealth is to live content with little. The soul takes nothing with her to the next world but her education and her culture. At the beginning of the journey to the next world, one's education and culture can either provide the greatest assistance or else act as the greatest burden to the person who has just died. Ignorance of all things is an evil neither terrible nor excessive, nor yet the greatest of all. But great cleverness and much learning, if they are accompanied by a bad training, are a much greater misfortune. Good actions give strength to ourselves and inspire good actions in others. How can you prove whether at this moment we are sleeping and all our thoughts are a dream, or whether we are awake and talking to one another in the waking state? The difficulty, my friends, is not avoiding death, but in avoiding unrighteousness, for that runs faster than death. The God of love lives in a state of need. It is a need. It is an urge. It is a homeostatic imbalance. Like hunger and thirst, it's almost impossible to stamp out. Moneymakers are tiresome company, as they have no standard but cash value. To prefer evil to good is not in human nature, and when a man is compelled to choose one of two evils, no one will choose the greater when he might have the less. Philosophy is the highest music. To suffer the penalty of too much haste, which is too little speed. No man should bring children into the world who is unwilling to preserve to the end in their nature and education. The excessive increase of anything causes a reaction in the opposite direction. Those who are able to see beyond the shadows and lies of their culture will never be understood, let alone believed, by the masses. Twice and thrice over, as they say, good is to repeat and review what is good. There is no such thing as a lover's oath. Those who intend on becoming great should love neither themselves nor their own things, but only what is just, whether it happens to be done by themselves or others. Wisdom alone is the science of other sciences. Tyranny naturally arises out of democracy. Excess of liberty, whether it lies in state or individuals, seems only to pass into excess of slavery. One man cannot practice many arts with success. There is in every one of us, even those who seem to be most moderate, a type of desire that is terrible, wild, and lawless. In the knowledgeable realm, the form of the good is the last thing to be seen, and it is reached only with difficulty. Once one has seen it, however, one must conclude that it is the cause of all that is correct and beautiful in anything, that it produces both light and its source in the visible realm, and that in the intelligible realm it controls and provides truth and understanding, so that anyone who is to act sensibly in private or public must see it. Most people are not just comfortable in their ignorance, but hostile to anyone who points it out. It is the task of the enlightened not only to ascend to learning and to see the good, but be willing to descend again to those prisoners and to share their troubles and their honors, whether they are worth having or not. And this they must do, even with the prospect of death. This is Catalyst. Stay inspired.